everybody, welcome back to Red Tool House. Today we are still over at Chad's, and instead of being in the sugar shack, we're up here on the hill. He's showing us his operation here, how he's plumbed it. Is plumbing the proper word? You plumbed your trees?
Plumbing, tubing, yeah.
Okay, he's tubed his trees, and he's going to explain what he's got going on here, and he's also going to tap some for us here so we can get some details of that. So, Chad, thanks for having us again.
Absolutely.
Although we really haven't left, we've just cut away. So
we're doing a new video, right?
All right, okay.
So we're up in the sugar bush. One thing that I mentioned earlier with the tubing system, or the previous video, the tubing system, you have the main line, and we'll talk about the main line here after a while. But this is basically what I would consider an anchor tree. So this is the start of a run. The run, to call it in maple terms, is a lateral. And then you have this thing called a drop. The drop actually contains the spile or the tap, in which will go into the tree, and then that's where it'll start to naturally flow into the tubing and go downhill and end up 1,000 feet down in the sugar shack. So what you've got to start from an anchor tree, you've just basically got this little piece that wraps around and connects into itself. You're pulling tension as you're pulling that line, that 1,000-foot 3/16 line, so you're pulling tension the whole way. The name of the game is to not have to go through and have anchors in between for sags and things like that, because you need to keep it, going in that gradient as you can.
Right. Okay.
You've got an end piece right here. This is a T. The blue indicates that that's a start. So this tells me this is the start of this line, and then you've got the tap here. They call it a sanity, and the sanity basically keeps the tap clean and sanitized for when I'm ready to go and tap. So we'll go ahead and do one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hold that.
Yeah, what can I hold for you?
You can hold that. So any drill works. The bit is everything. So yes, you can use, and yes, last year I did use for part of the time a regular old DeWalt bit or whatever you get at Home Depot, Lowe's, but they actually designed this bit a little bit differently. What you'll find is if you use the other bits is it will actually leave some wood shavings in the hole. You want to get those out. The next instinct is to blow on it, to blow them out. Well, you just blow, bacteria and everything else in there, but this one, the way it's done is it's sharp all the way up.
Oh yeah.
So it's got an actual blade all the way up, and then it'll pull pretty much all that sawdust out of there.
Okay.
I put a blade stop, so this is another piece of what we would consider research we're doing. I stop at 1.5 inches. The reason being is I want this season to go for this particular hole through the whole season. Well, this thing in a month, based on temperature, is going to start to try to heal itself. So we're right before February tapping our first tap. A month from now, these things are going to kind of slow down a little bit. I'll come back and I'll bump this stop back to 2 inches. Re-drill, not drilling another hole. I don't want to damage the tree anymore, but I'll actually dig it out a little bit more, another 1/2 inch, and that takes the scab off, right? So we get another good 2 to 3 weeks of flow again.
Excellent.
So it extends the season.
Yeah, extended season without losing another location on the tree.
Correct, yeah.
You want to explain that real quick as far as each year you can't go back and keep hitting the same hole. There's a method to what you have to do to keep getting flow and to keep from killing the tree.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, you can go and you can pull too much sap. They have industry standards. These people have been doing it, 100 years, so they know, what it takes to kill a tree. And essentially, you can tap a tree more than once if it's the appropriate size. And the guidelines is 1 tap in a 10-inch tree, 2 in a 20, and 3 in a 30. Typically, I try to avoid that 3 into a 30 unless it has multiple large branches. I just don't want to go and just over tap, because if I lose the sugar bush, I've got an expensive toy down there I can't even play with anymore.
That's right, yeah.
So needless to say, you can over tap and take too much sap out, but as long as you stick to the recommendations, 1 in 10, 2 in 20, 3 in 30, you should be good. So as we mentioned, we'll pull it out of the sanity. That allows me to come up here and prep the sugar bush to where I'm ready to tap, as opposed to trying to do all the tubing and tapping in the same day. So this buys me time, and then I can wait till the optimal temperature. So it's covered up clean, nothing can get into it. I pull it off. I try not to touch it and contaminate it, but before I get that far, I'm going to drill a hole.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I don't want an area that has major damage, anything that looks dead.
Sorry.
So I'll just basically come up here, I'll knock off the loose ends. I think that this is going to be, I want above my line, so it naturally, gravity feeds into it. And anywhere as high as you want to go, you can technically go, because that just gives you future coming down. So I'm going to come actually right here. I'm going to clear that off.
Can we have Kelly pick you up?
Right. Need a ladder in the sugar bush. Right. So we've got the tap. It'll go only that deep, which is 1.5 inches. or the drill bit, you want to have a little bit of an angle, and I'll show you down here. You put a little bit of an angle because gravity's naturally going to bring it down. If you do it like this, it's going to pull in the back. So if I do a little bit of an angle, that's actually going to feed into that spile better, and it's going to just gravity feed all the way to the sugar bush. I don't need a pump at that point. So here's my spots. I'm going to go right here. I'm going to start it. I'm going to hit it, and then you pull it out, and that is about as clean of a hole as you can get.
Oh, very nice.
So no flow today. Typically, if it's flow, it'll start right there.
Should have squirted you right in the eye, shouldn't
Squirt you right in the eye, yep. I'll give you this.
Take your beater, all right.
Yep. So I carry this old hammer that I found on the farm that was in the barn, and I don't know what the story is, but I thought, man, that's a good lightweight hammer.
That's right.
I don't need a claw. So basically what I'm looking for is to keep this as clean as could be between here and there. I put it in, I'll kind of pull it a little bit at an angle, start it, and then there's a method to the madness. You just don't go hammering, you're listening for something. So what you'll hear is it basically stops, there's a thud. So I've got to...
There it is, yep.
There you go. And what that just gave me was a nice tight seal all the way around that. Now I'm looking at this, and what I've got is this right here, a little bit of a low gap. So I'll hand you that. I'll pull this down a little bit, just a little bit. We don't want to pull it down too much. And then you can kind of play with this a little bit. And we'll show, sometimes you can twist this before you tap it, and that'll take care of it as well.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about this one right here though. It's close enough.
Yeah.
So Mother Nature will basically push pressure into here. This is tight enough because it's the 3/16 tubing that it'll force it up, and then that'll start the whole suction portion of it going down the hill.
Yeah, awesome. So, so as you were saying, just make sure that,
Yep.
so everything here from this blue, because you said this is a start, then this junction here is actually just sealed off. It's not actually
Correct.
open to this tube, because you're just using this section of tube to be an anchor to the tree. So
That's
instead
exactly
of a cable or a wire or anything,
That's right.
this, and of course it gives you nice elasticity so you can move it as you need.
It's got flexibility in there. There is an extra cap. The blue indicates this is the start of a lateral, the start of a run. So then everything below will actually flow through, and those are indicated as being green. It's very, yeah. Yeah, very much.
The first time I thought, I didn't know I'd tell the difference yet.
Yeah, it's a thud, and that's, you know, you got a good seal at that point. If you don't, you'll have black coming down the side of your tree, like that one, yeah.
Yeah.
It's leaking sap. But, up here. This one here was hanging out, but I try not to touch the end of it. If I want it up here, you know, that's giving me above grade. That one there I kind of put a corkscrew into. This one here I'm not going to, so I'll select it, have an angle.
Yeah, but Paul asked me to do it because I just wanted to get it over.
Okay.
I've got one on the back side of this one.
Do you get poison ivy?
Yeah. It happens.
Yes, I do too. I glow in the dark after I get it.
Right. Let's see. That'll be good.
Very nice.
That's it. Just go on down the line, basically.
So how many linear feet do you think you have installed right now?
So, as I mentioned, 3/4 main line is 1,000 feet. In this type of tubing, the 3/16, I think it's right at 3,000 feet. So they come in 1,000-foot rolls, and I used almost 3.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
So that was between that, and then this was a day itself as creating the T to the spile, so what we call the drop. So I sat in the man cave and sat up there and made drops one day. Got them ready, brought them up here, and then basically you have the tool that clamps both sides, pulls it together to where you want that. You cut it both sides, it's holding tension. You put the T in there, and then you close it up so it pliers and closes that up to where it makes a nice watertight seal. Just to show you what this is, we've got our tubing system up here. Where I did the wine bags last year, that's one of the spile holes. So it scabs over pretty quick. I was up a couple months after I'd pulled the spiles and it had already basically started to close up. So, you know, for future reference, you know, I want to continue to be able to tap this tree. This area around this, maybe a 6-inch circle, I would try to avoid tapping that area again. So if I was to re-tap in this area 6 inches up and over, 6 inches up or over and down, whichever direction you want to go. Typically you want to go the same direction, that way you're constantly getting away from your previous year's tap. I started up a little higher with the tubing because I needed the natural gradient, but then like I said, I can still work that down and still work this tube down as needed.
Okay, so we are at the proverbial end of the line here, I assume.
We are where the sugar bush begins.
Okay.
And essentially what we've got here is this big gnarly looking maple. I noticed this big beast of a tree last year and it kind of stood out for one reason.
It is black as coal, isn't it?
If you take a look at it, yeah, you'll see. And apparently either a bug ate a hole and sap came out and a bird found the bug, or something started that vicious cycle and it hasn't stopped.
Yeah.
But I tapped it last year, and the first time I come up to check the bag, the cup runneth over. The bag had fallen down into the little briar patch there, poked a hole into it, and I lost everything. And I was up probably a day or two before, and I knew it was filling fast. So this is our anchor tree. This is exactly 1,000 feet in 3/4 inch tubing, the mainline tubing, to the sugar shack. You know, I get creative, I start thinking, and when I went to the guy that I bought my supplies from, he gave me a stainless steel plug. Well, the stainless steel plug is permanent. And my goal is to be able to flush this later on with the permeates, so the actual water that we get off of the future reverse osmosis machine. So I wanted to be able to flush that. So I found this little T here, and it serves its purpose until somebody comes up with a better idea. But anyhow, so a lot going on here. The anchor tree, of course, we have the high tensile. We made sure to put some tubing. I used some PEX that I had left over to keep from scarring the tree too much. This runs pretty much everywhere the main line runs, so the high tensile. And then what you've got here is the first, what we call a saddle. So that's the first hole going into it from the lateral. So these are connecting all the trees. Remember the drops. So it comes into here, it comes into the little anchor that hooks into the high tensile and then loops around. Natural progression, I may try to work on this and get it a little lower, but natural, if it's got vacuum, it should flow naturally into here, and here it's a downhill grade from there. So I got a couple of saddles here. I'm gonna use these couple of drops here for Old Faithful here, and do a couple of holes there. So.
All right. Okay, let's tap away. Shall I hold?
Let you hold that. So when I did all these drops, I did them all in, you know, bulk. So I set up there, and every one of them's 3 foot. Now occasionally you'll find that you need a 4 foot or something like that. So you've kind of got to plan that when you're doing your drops. But anyhow, so I'll make sure it's going to hit. I'll get the bit with the angle, and then pull it out fast. I'll hand you this.
Swap tools there?
Swap tools, make sure I'm above grade there. And I put a little bit of an angle. I don't put it directly down. I don't know what it is. It looks right. So we'll tap.
I would think if it was 6 o'clock position, there's a chance it could actually crimp the hose a little bit, couldn't it?
Could crimp the hose, and I've heard that. And if you actually leave it like that and there's any shavings, and that bit was designed to eliminate shavings, but if there's any shavings, it may potentially clog it. A little easier flow if it's going down. So
Gotcha.
put a little bit of an angle and it might set here as opposed to coming down here.
Gotcha. Okay.
So because of the size of this tree, technically it's big enough to put 3. My policy currently is 2, so we're gonna go ahead and put a second one in there. So I'll hand you this for a second.
Swap out again, yeah.
I'm gonna come on around this way, get away from this one here. Not
the old one
directly,
right there?
the old one
Yeah.
right here, so
Yeah.
you can see the old hole right here, plus the various woodpecker holes. I'm gonna come here, maybe see if I can get right here. So I'll pull this off without touching the very tip that goes in the tree. It looks like I can get into that general area. And we'll go. I'll hand you that. We've got this. I'll plug it. We can pull a little tension, so tension's a good thing in this system. And then there you have it.
Yeah. Chad, I appreciate you taking us around the sugar bush there. That was a bit of a hike. I needed that. I need a little more exercise.
Absolutely.
But no, I appreciate you showing us there. So we're sap will start flowing tomorrow with the weather forecast, it looks like, right?
That's the plan. Hopefully next few days we'll be making some maple syrup.
All right. Well, we may come back and get some video of boiling down stuff and maybe have to stick our finger in the finished product when we're done.
Pass the shed off, we're good.
I hear you. All right, man. Well, I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you.
All right.
Thank
All
you.
right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks.